Ah, those bloody bagpipes. Really, nothing against bagpipe music. It sounds great. But again, if you if you have done some medieval, not reenactment, let's say, but if you have been on medieval markets like we do in our group, so as soon as there's one fucking guy with a bagpipe, your life turns to hell. No joke. I heard about those medieval fairs in America, and as far as I understand it, it's extremely different to the stuff we here have as so-called medieval markets. So I think it's great fun what you have there, but if you look at the costumes and look at it from a historical point of view, it's just carnival. So nothing against carnival, nothing against fantasy stuff. It's all great fun, don't get me wrong, but as I said, it's so completely different to what we try to achieve. Don't get me wrong, in Germany we have also lots of the so-called many of those medieval markets are fantasy stuff too. That's all okay, and there are live role plays that are highly fantasy, and I myself go to live acting role plays where you have the orcs and the elves and the dwarves and all the stuff, or Warhammer fantasy creatures, so that's all pretty fun. But we in our group, we try to recreate the late 14th century, and we are not authentic, not perfectly. Nobody can be authentic. This is just nonsense. Anybody who says he has an authentic recreation is a liar, because you don't know exactly how it was, all the clothing and stuff like this. You just can't get it, not from the Middle Ages. For later periods, yes, but not for the Middle Ages. But I think when it comes to historical reenactment or recreation, the biggest problem for this is, even if you know how the people were dressed, even if you have perfect preserved clothing, then you could recreate those clothes. You could, up to a high degree, recreate it. You don't have the wool of those days. This is the first thing. It starts when you think about the sheeps. So some people say that the sheeps back then were different from the genetic or whatever than sheep today. So you don't get the exact wool like they had some 100 years ago. And the other problem is even if you make a clothing 90% accurate, then you won't be able to recreate the mindset of a people living several hundred years ago. So a modern day person cannot feel how it was living back then. He cannot understand how it was believing in God that much, that you firmly believe that there is a higher instance that rules your life. So lots of people today believe in God. That's pretty fine. I also was educated in the Catholic belief. You simply cannot understand how it is to have a life in a time where you believe on the one side that God rules your whole life, and on the other hand that it's your place in society to be the peasant, or to be the monk, or to be the trader, or the whatever. So this is the thing. You cannot understand how a person thought in the Middle Ages, and how it was to believe that there is the nobility that rules you, that the king is sent from God. So this is, yeah, sorry, I just got a bit upset because this is so interesting for me, because we have so many people in the reenactment scene that come to you and say, I am totally authentic because I have this and this and this, and this button of you is wrong, and maybe the button is wrong. Maybe you know more than me. You can tell me this, but you cannot claim, by no means, you cannot claim that you can fully recreate those ancient times. This is just impossible. So sorry, this was, but this is, I could talk for hours about this topic. So it's nice to go as close as possible with your clothing, with your recreation, reenactment, however you want to call it, but never claim that you are 100% authentic. This is just nonsense.